This week, the FAA released the new MOSAIC rule, which is going to make it much easier for people to get into gliding and give people access to gliders that are probably already in your club or you may already even own. Hi, glider pilots. I'm Jeff. I'm a professional pilot and a Gold Seal flight instructor. And this past week at the air show in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, AirVenture, the FAA released the new MOSAIC rule, also called Sport Pilot 2.0. You can see Transportation Secretary Duffy there. He announced it personally at Oshkosh, and it has the chance to really make gliding available to more people in a very easy way. Okay, MOSAIC is the modernization of special airworthiness certification. It updates the certifications for small aircraft, particularly light sport aircraft. And the final rule and who can fly them and how you can use your sport pilot license. The final rule was announced on July 22nd, and it'll go into effect October 22nd. The big news for gliders is no more max weight, okay, for gliders to be flown by sport pilots. No max speed for pure gliders. That was a big problem. And the increase in the max speed with power has been increased to 250 knots for motor gliders. Okay, so this gets a bunch of heritage gliders off the naughty list, and now they can be flown fairly easily by sport pilots or people who are going to add on sport pilot privileges to their certificates. We're going to refer to this airspeed indicator a couple of times because this is the easiest way to think about some of these number changes is in terms of what's on your airspeed indicator. Under the old system, the max speed in level flight under continuous power, so this was really a requirement for airplanes, gyroplanes, powered aircraft, okay? It was set at 120 knots. Gliders don't fly generally in level flight. So the FAA interpreted this as VNE. So they said the max speed, they said that was for gliders was the VNE, the never exceed speed, or red line on your airspeed indicator. They set that as 120 knots. This was fairly restrictive. It caused a number of issues. Under the new rule that goes into effect in October, motorized gliders under max continuous airspeed will have a max speed of 250 knots, which is ridiculously high and will never need any kind of speed that high. But the way it's going to be interpreted for pure gliders is non-motorized gliders, I'm quoting directly from the rule, will not be subject to a maximum airspeed limitation in this rule since they lack an engine or motor with a VH limit. Okay, so this is going to open up a ton of gliders to be flown by sport pilots, which is great. Also, the stall speed has been relaxed. Previously, the max stall speed was considered the bottom of the green arc, 45 knots, the bottom of the green arc, VS1. Okay? Now, the new max stall speed will be based on VS0 of 45. So that's bottom of the white arc. Okay? So if your glider has flaps, you can now take credit for that. And as long as you have a clean or a dirty stall speed of 45 knots or less, that can be flown by a sport pilot. And it's the bottom of the green arc if you have no flaps at all. Okay, so let's take a look at some examples of how this has worked in the past, and a lot of gliders that are going to be available now for sport pilots. Okay, these are gliders that have always been on the nice list. Schweitzer 126, 233, your standard Cirrus, your PW5, world class, some of your newer motor gliders, Lambada, Sundancer, Phoenix. So basic idea there is all your tube and fabric gliders, some of the metal gliders, and then kind of your simplest composite ships, the earlier ones. Those you could always fly under Sport Pilot. Now, look at all the new gliders that can be flown by sport pilots, okay? And this was a problem because these are some of the most common gliders in America. Off the naughty list, they're on the nice list. The metal Schweitzers, the 134, 135, 232, Blahnik and Super Blahnik. Okay, these are some of the most produced gliders ever. and are common trainers still. Okay, your Grobe 102, 103, very common trainer, the Grobe 103. Even the Motor Glider, the 109. Your ASK 19, ASK 21. Okay, again, another common training glider can now be flown. PW6, so think about that. The PW5, the single seat version, could be flown under Sport Pilot, but the trainer version of it, the PW6, could not. Okay, a lot of these, the problem was the VNE was just a little bit above 120 knots. Okay, Mini Nimbus and your Ventus. Okay, all of these can now be flown by Sport Pilots. The VNE, okay, is within the new rule. So effectively all your metal gliders, even a Lark, okay, and a lot of your club composite gliders can now be flown by Sport Pilots. Okay. Now that is the ones that can be flown, that are off the naughty list and onto the nice list. The increase in stall speed still keeps some amount of gliders, though, away from Sport Pilots. Okay, the increased stall speed better aligns with the European and the Canadian glider requirement, where the VSO, again, it's metric, 90 kilometers per hour, but that's 48.6 knots. That is higher. It's close, but no cigar, and is higher than the FAA's VS0, VS1, 45 knots, 48.5 versus 45 knots. Doesn't line up exactly. This is going to keep a number of higher performance and more and the newest gliders away from Sport Pilots. And this was intentional by the FAA. A number of organizations like the Soaring Society of America asked about this, and the FAA effectively said no. The 45 knot calibrated airspeed VS0 in this rule would put light sport category stall speed requirements a few knots below EASA and TCCA design requirements of 90 kilometers per hour. Okay, for air brakes with gliders, for gliders with air brakes retracted and at maximum weight with water ballast. I have added that emphasis. Accordingly, FAA has determined that 45 knot calibrated airspeed in this rule would be appropriate. Okay. FAA does not find it appropriate to change the current VS1 of 45 knots maximum stall speed limitation at this time. And this was their reasoning. So they give the reasoning for that. Gliders with maximum stall speeds greater than 45 knots generally have more complex performance characteristics, resulting in less stability in flight and longer landing distances and higher maximum gross weights. Those aircraft currently require a private pilot certificate to ensure the pilot has additional training necessary to safely operate the higher performance aircraft. Now, and where does that higher max gross weight come from? It comes from the extra water ballast. So gliders that can hold a lot of water do not meet this requirement. Okay, so these are gliders that are still on the naughty list. And you're going to look at this list and say, wait a minute, I stall below 45 all the time in this gliders. Okay, these are the gliders that are still unavailable to Sport Pilots. They're still on the naughty list. Your original Discus and the later models of Discus. Duo Discus, the Arcus, DG500, DG800, DG1000, LS3, LS4, LS6, LS8. Basically anything made by Yonkers. All of these now we're getting into these big open class gliders. Yonkers, Antares, your STEMI, okay? It's not a problem. Problem isn't weight anymore. Problem isn't maximum max air speeds, okay? Now it's the stall speed that's too high. And realize for certification purposes, that stall speed is calculated at max weight with water ballast and a forward center of gravity. So they're taking the worst case conditions for all of it. Okay, and that's how that number is determined for these aircraft. And so if you put all that on there, let's say you couldn't dump your water, okay, and you had to land at that published airspeed, okay, that's significantly higher. You'll look at it and say, I fly Duo Discus all the time and I'm stalling in the 30s, okay, correct. But if it was if you're at maximum gross weight with forward CG, you know, it would be significantly higher than that. Okay, so these highest performance composite gliders are still not available to sport pilots. But honestly, let's be realistic. If you are going to invest that kind of money in one of those ships, you can definitely add on a private pilot's license for it. So the final MOSAIC rule has now been released as of last week. Most club gliders in the US can now be flown with a sport pilot's license. You can fly these types of gliders for your entire life, and you will have a great time. You can teach in them. You can be taught in them. They're great gliders. Okay? Your highest performance ships still require a private pilot's license. Okay? And this is going to open up a much easier path for people to add on glider privileges to their existing pilot's licenses. And we'll talk about that in the next video of how you can do this without taking a check ride. No check ride required if you're adding on glider privileges. No DPE, no check ride. Okay? If you want to know how that is, watch the next video in this series. Okay? So, if you have any questions, comment down below. I'll get back to any questions you have. And in the next video, we'll show how you can become a glider pilot easier and faster, which is always the goal of this channel. So again, glider pilots, have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.